Alrighty, what's going on everybody? NinjaStar here, and today we are back at it again with a Dragon Ball video. Now today's Dragon Ball video is going to be a video about Dragon Ball Super, and the topic for this was basically inspired by the recent events, or recent spoilers, that's been going on in the Dragon Ball community. Now if you don't want to get spoiled, don't watch this video, that's all I'm saying. But before I go to the spoilers and the topic and what's going on, I would like to introduce my collaborator for this video topic, MJ from GeekListTV. Say hi, dude.
It's been a while since I've been on your channel, bro. Thank you for having me back on, dude.
Thank you for coming in. If you guys missed it, my last video that I did with MJ was the best Beerus moments in Dragon Ball Super, and that was a fun video to do with him, so go check it out after you're done with this one. But basically, the thing regarding the spoilers, recent ones, was that Frost and Freeza are going to have an eventual team up. Now, I would like to thank, Geekdom and Rhymestyle for making a video on this, but so if you want to see like more in detail on that, I'll have a link to that one in the description. So basically, they're going to be teaming up in the near future, is what has been rumored by the voice actors and whatever. And I think that's going to be interesting to see, like, a lot of people like, oh, who's going to backstab each other first? A Frieza race, like, teaming up and whatever it's going to be, see like two villains trying to take down like one hero or another villain or something like that. But I still do think Frost could have been at least somewhat good. So I think MJ, I would like to hear your words first, because you're my guest and everything. So what are your thoughts? Like, should Frost have been good, or do you think he should have just stayed evil?
Well, before I get into that, Ninja, I want to talk about those. I guess it's really like a spoiler or it's like a leak or whatever. I believe Gravity Priest mentioned it on Twitter or something, and then Dino and Geekdom made a video. So shout out to all those people. But basically, what happened was Rio basically said that Frost and Freeza are going to team up. People went crazy. Does that mean they're going to stop the tournament? Are they going to become like the villains of the next arc? We don't really know. In fact, I didn't even like take it that seriously. What I thought he meant by that was, I'm not too sure if you're familiar with WWE, but if you're familiar with the Royal Rumbles and stuff, I thought maybe they would team up to take out a bigger threat like Topo. You know what I mean? Someone like that. Like they would team up to take out someone stronger. Not so much as to team up to like plot against like the Grand Priest or the Gods of Destruction, or that they become like the new villains of the next arc. And none of that came to mind. I just thought they would team up for the Tournament of Power, and then that would be it. You know what I mean? Like just like a one-time thing. That's what came to my mind. But yeah, going back to like the whole Frost being evil stuff, they probably should have kept him. I think they should have kept him face. They should have kept him a good guy. I don't think he really should have had that evil turn that he did in the Universe 6 tournament, or the Champa arc, whatever you want to call it. I feel like it was a bit weird. I believe in the manga version, I could be wrong, but I remember in the manga version, it wasn't even that drastic. Like he was poisoning people, but it was so he could win the tournament. It was never really mentioned that he was this evil, dirty businessman, this evil bastard. In the anime, it really slammed it in that he was evil, which, I mean, it's just one of those differences between the anime and the manga, right? Mm-hmm. It's like, I don't know which version you prefer, which version your commenters prefer, but it was a bit weird that they kind of made him evil, because I mean, like, he doesn't have to be the exact counterpart to Frieza. I mean, look at the Saiyans, look at how Planet Sedal and look how Kaba and them are compared to the Universe 7 Saiyans, you know what I mean? So they don't have to be the exact counterparts, but at least that's what the anime went with, that Frost is evil. However, though, is he really that evil? I think that's the bigger question, because I don't think he's really that much of a dick like Frieza is. He may be a dirty businessman, and he may be like a real, like a conniving prick, but I don't think he's like Frieza, because like an example of this would be, every time Frieza got the upper hand on someone, he pretty much tortured them. First, we saw it with Nell. Let's say this. We saw it with the Namekians, and then we saw it with Nell, his first one-on-one fight in the manga, against Nell. He tortured Nell, basically. And then on top of torturing Nell, he went on to torture, Gohan and Vegeta when he was in his second form. Then he tortured Piccolo. You get the pattern here. Then he tortured Vegeta again, and then he even tortured Goku for a little while before Goku got the Super Saiyan transformation. So it's like, Frieza's a really evil person, whereas Frost didn't care about torturing anyone. He took out Goku as soon as he poisoned him. He didn't keep him in the ring to torture him. He took out Piccolo as soon as he poisoned them. It's like Frost had a motive, and that was to win the tournament, and he didn't care anything else about that. Whereas Frieza, even though Frieza had motives, he would stop to like really torture you and to be an asshole.
I do agree with what you're saying. Like, with Frost isn't completely evil. He's just kind of dirty. He's sort of he's a snitch, a sneak in some ways.
He's a cheat, yeah.
Whereas Frieza is completely evil, like he will torture the living hell out of you, and Frieza is more applicable for a villain. But I still think the Frost thing, he was kind of a Frieza clone in some regards, although obviously a few things were changed, like, you know, the design was slightly different, the version of evil wasn't like torture type thing, it was just kind of mischievous type evil, but I still do think, well, there was like one good thing about it that I'd like to note. It did make for an interesting plot twist, like none of us saw it coming, because if you remember back then, there were some spoilers leaking, like from the looks of it, it just seemed like, oh, Frost was just gonna be good like what we'd expected, but no, the evil thing just came out of nowhere and none of us had expected, and it made for a very interesting just plot twist at that time. But I feel like overall building up, it didn't add that much to his character. Like when it came down to Frieza's race is still one of the most mysterious things in Dragon Ball. Like sure, we've seen, you know, King Cold, we've seen a little bit of Frieza's like backstory and stuff, but we don't know like that much about him, you know, they're mutants and whatever, but it would have been nice to see like an interesting take on it, like what this Frieza was like from a different universe. And I think I was talking with you about this earlier, it would have been like, if you remember the Universal Tournament, like the arc right before it, it was Resurrection F. And Vegeta wasn't able to get that last kill on Frieza, and a lot of fans are pissed about that. And Goku just came in, you know, Deus Ex Machina, won the freaking thing. But after that, Vegeta was kind of just like, you know, he wasn't excited. He didn't get to get that long-lasting revenge on Frieza, because if you take into consideration what Frieza did to Vegeta back in, like, you know, Dragon Ball Z, back when Vegeta was a child and stuff, there was some ruthless stuff that he did, and it just showed like how savage he is and stuff. And it would have been so satisfying to see Vegeta get that last hit, but obviously he didn't. And Vegeta was quite, I can tell, upset about it as well. And Resurrection F, like, sure, they had some fun with it at the end of the movie, but deep down, Vegeta was still kind of jealous. Like, Goku got the last kill on him. So this could have been like his one, I think it would have been nice if they added one more plot, where obviously we saw Vegeta, you know, get that last bit of revenge, but against Frost, he literally just like one-shotted Frost. Well, it was a little different in the manga, but in the anime, he just one-shotted it, boom. You know, it was over with. And Frost, what was Frost's purpose? Just to get a little beating on Piccolo and to give him some free time? There was really nothing adding to that. But if we saw Frost being a good guy, Vegeta could have actually held a grudge against Frost, and it would have been interesting to see it. Like, let's say, like, Vegeta's always, like, wants to murder this guy of Frieza's race, because Frieza's race is always, like, you know, hurt him, impact, like, mentally and physically and stuff. But when you see someone that isn't actually that bad, it isn't like Frieza, Vegeta's gonna have to think about this, like, wait, should I want to kill this guy so bad, but he's not a bad person by any means. I don't know how to see this. Like, it would have been interesting to see this conflicted Vegeta and how he'd handle the battle and whatever. It could have made for that interesting story element, but it just made for something boring, I guess, to rush the tournament and get it ready for all the later episodes and whatever. So, yeah.
Well, this is a theory from Real to Real. This is all Mark. This is all Real to Real. He told me a while back. I'm not sure if he actually made a video about it, but he told me off air. And that was the idea that when, like, if it was when we first found out about Frieza coming back, right? He theorized that Frieza and Frost would have an interaction, like we all did, you know. And then he theorized that since Frieza and he kind of agrees with us that Frieza's more evil, so he thought of the idea that like Frost, Frieza would team up, or they would just be like together, or they would see each other, right, interact, and then Frieza would start torturing like Kaba or something, and then Frost would kind of see how evil this guy is, and that would kind of make Frost turn good, and Frost would kind of do like a double elimination, saving Kaba, where he eliminates himself and Frieza. And I thought that would be like a real cool moment that would kind of redeem Frost, and that would also kind of show that Frost does care, you know, because I'm sure he and I can't remember if it's stated, but people have assumed that he and Kaba fought wars together, you know, so it would be kind of cool if he did have some I guess some degree of to where he did like this dude, because Kaba did seem to admire Frost, and he kind of like defended him, so it would be kind of cool to have some love-hate there, and have Frost actually say, oh shit, I'm not like you, dude, I don't want to be like you, so he jumps in to save Kaba, and then he does double elimination. I thought that was like a real cool theory from Real to Real, and they could do that, who knows. Well, I mean, we could see what happens there, but it's funny though, because you talked about earlier the whole, man, it was like such a twist, you know. I agree with you, because remember, bro, you remember all those videos about if Goku threw the fight?
Oh no.
The Toei had tricked everyone into thinking that Frost was a good guy. That's how good the story, I don't want to say how good the storytelling was, but how good his development was, up to that point to where people were legit defending Frost and saying, no, he's not evil. Goku threw the fight. Goku winked. so he threw the fight. You know what I mean? So you are right about that. It was a twist. I guess whether you like the twist or not, whatever. It's just one of those things, whether you like it or not. But the one thing you can agree on, that everyone has to agree on, is that it was a huge twist. I think it shocked everybody. You know what I mean? When he turned evil, or when he turned to the bad side, or whatever. But overall, I mean, I guess really in my last thoughts on this video is that I would probably say Frost isn't as evil as Frieza. Maybe he shouldn't have turned evil, but if hopefully Real to Real's theory comes true, I think that would be a real badass moment if he does redeem himself in the Tournament of Power.
Yeah, and that theory, like, I actually haven't heard that one, so that just, like, shocked me when I first heard it. So, yeah, like, I'm not surprised, like, that's coming from Mark, Real to Real, you know. If you guys don't know him, he's a mutual friend of ours, just great guy. I'll have his channel linked in the description as well, but this thing is about that theory, it could definitely show an interesting, like, you know, redeem his character, like what you said, and it show that maybe this whole, like, being being evil again wasn't a complete waste, and actually came to, like, good use laterwards. And even if, you know, this would be like an early end off for Frost and he'd die early, it'd be like an interesting, satisfying character, showing like like some character development for this guy who's only been in a few episodes, but he's like self-realizing, like he's realizing his mistakes and trying to correct himself. Yeah. And that would have been a really creative element if they do that. So it would just, if they like did do this, like I've been saying, it doesn't make this whole thing a waste. It actually makes it a lot more satisfying and shows that this isn't all that bad as it seems. So yeah, that's just like kind of my last things as well. And NJ, I think you said that was yours, your last thoughts as well. Anything else to say though?
Just thank you for having me back on the channel, bro. It's always cool to talk Dragon Ball with you.
Same with you, man. And yeah, if you guys haven't checked out already, which I assume you all have, but in case you haven't, MJ, the collaborator on this video, GeekListTV, makes great content, always consistent with his stuff, and fun guy to discuss Dragon Ball with. So thank you all so much for watching. What do you guys think about Frost? Do you think he should have been evil? Do you think he should have been good? Do you think the theory about him maybe having the change of persona could be an interesting twist or whatever, like the previous thing? Well, I'd like to hear everyone's input in the comments down below. Anyways, guys, thanks so much for watching, and Ninja out. Peace, everybody.